Running can be such a lonely sport. Just ask Michael Barwick. The 23-year-old can go training and rarely see another runner. But the hard work is paying off for the 800-metre specialist, who recently recorded a personal best time and has now earned an invitation to run against the country's best in the National Grand Prix meets.
A bit of a dream come true, really. It's a real good chance to gauge how I'm going and get up against the best, and they'll pull me through.
Other locals set to start on Saturday night include sprinters like Ross Smith and Lee Clark. The pair come off a great Botany Bay gift meet on Australia Day, where Smith in the second lane from the left and Clark, who raced 2 in from the right, finished second and third respectively. To water polo and 2 more New South Wales country titles to the Central Newcastle club after winning on the far north coast at the weekend. After the women knocked over Central Coast, the men faced off against rivals Lake Macquarie and after holding a 2-goal half-time lead went on to win 5-2.
The music was playing as normal inside the Green Hills complex today, but outside the bulldozers were hard at work, with Maitland Mayor Peter Blackmore helping get the job started. Woolworths is developing the site on behalf of the new owners, the Stockland Group.
Here what we'll be doing is building a new Woolworths supermarket, a new Big W discount department store, and a number of specialty shops and mini majors.
Then they'll demolish the existing centre to make way for new shops and a Franklin's supermarket, all to be finished by the end of next year.
And we've traded here for 28 years. We started off with a supermarket and then we've added the Big W over time. So we've had a long commitment to the area. And if you look at the demographics for the surrounding population, there's definitely demand.
Despite the clearing of thousands of trees on the site, Stockland says it still plans to call the centre Green Hills. Meantime, construction is almost complete at the nearby East Maitland Private Hospital. The first 100 medical staff are now being recruited, with the first patients to be accepted around June this year. And staff and students at Metford Public School can rest easy this term, with the Land and Environment Court upholding Maitland Council's refusal of a tavern that was to be built on the site next to the school. Paul Lobb, NBN News.
Newcastle United's weekly Meet the Press, and there was little talk about last week's victory, or even the upcoming match against the Brisbane Strikers. Instead, management was talking of future plans for the club, players, and even coach Lee Sterry.
Con's plan is to win a championship and bring a championship to Newcastle within 2 years, or a 3-year plan as from this year. Certainly I want to play a big part in that, and I think I've proved my worth over the couple of years I've been here.
And General Manager Jock Graham feels that there will at least be a Newcastle club next season.
We are very confident of being part of that 12-team revamped National Soccer League next year, and I can assure you, and I need to reinforce the point of view, that Newcastle United Football Club is not there to make up the numbers.
United is hoping to prove that this Friday in Brisbane with almost a full-strength squad named. The only players still on the injury list are Damien Smith and Chris Zoricic. Meanwhile, former Breakers rising star Greg Owens has been selected for the Australian under-20s team. The side's first match is against the Cook Islands next month, and he's hoping to make it into the under-20s World Cup in Argentina in July. Adam Harper, NBN News.
Blue-green algae in the Mile Lakes is not a new problem, but one that was in the spotlight again today to the relief of local campaigners.
And the problem's been in trains for nearly 24 months and we've finally got an effective ministerial response to the community's concerns.
Environment Minister Bob Debus boarded a boat at Bulladila, bound for awareness on the causes and effects of the outbreaks.
What we've got to do is to understand the reasons why the nutrients rise up, especially after rain, to contribute to these algal blooms, and then better to understand how to manage them.
The problem continues to plague business owners who've lost as much as $100,000 in the last 2 years.
I'm a small business, I employ 5 people, but that's 5 people in a small town like Bulahdelah is a significant number if I have to close down.
So any further investigations into management options are more than welcome. Authorities are already working with the community on issues such as catchment plans.
Aimed at developing a range of actions within the catchment to help reduce the amount of nutrients getting into the river and then ultimately get into lakes. So that's the main thing we're focused on at the moment.
If it wasn't for this litter boom, all this rubbish would end up on one of Newcastle's beaches, or straight in the ocean. It's after heavy rain the problem of stormwater pollution becomes even more pronounced, with the city's drains becoming clogged with refuse.
Now's the time to go out and look. You can go and look at all the trash racks and all the litter that's built up there. Come look at all the outfalls that are coming onto the beach. Now's the time we're going to be seeing what we're actually producing as a catchment and as a city.
Newcastle Council is again reminding people to stop rubbishing the stormwater system by taking a few simple precautions.
If they've got a dog, make sure they clean up after their dog and dispose of that in a garbage or down the sewage system. If they're washing their car, don't wash it let detergents go onto the road. Clean up your plastics. Don't drop your cigarette butts. Cigarette butts are actually very toxic.
And as part of the clean-up campaign, a number of activities will be held at Nobby's Beach on the weekend.
We've got rock pool rambles starting this Saturday at 9 o'clock, so we can actually see the creatures we're affecting by stormwater pollution.
Tanya Carlisle, NBN News.
A deserted runway is now one asset that Yanda airline boss Paul Rees will have to either sell or lease. He's decided not to reapply for an operation certificate, claiming CASA's demand for a major overhaul is unreasonable and will not only take 3 months but send him broke.
I don't know whether CASA's been overzealous, whether individuals in there have been overzealous. The organisation has a history of jumping and then closing ranks to justify the decision they've previously made.
Yanda's fleet of 4 Piper Chieftains was grounded on the 5th of January after a takeoff incident. CASA claiming a passenger was required to assist a pilot. The authority says it was the latest of 52 safety breaches in 2 years.
That's CASA's mantra that it comes out with every time. It's safety, it's safety, it's safety. I've got a 25-year record of never having an aircraft on the ground or a passenger or a pilot with so much as a band-aid on them.
The airline rejected an option of appealing CASA's decision in the Administrative Appeals Tribunal because it feared legal proceedings could drag on. 8,000 passengers travelled with Yanda each year. Their destinations: Singleton, Scone, Maitland, Coonabarabran, Gunnedah and Sydney. Impulse is one of several carriers the government is trying to convince to fill the void. But the carrier says the level of passenger demand doesn't make it viable. Vanessa Trezise, NBN News. victory this morning for Cessnock miners.
It's great news. It makes my heart really pound because I've got a debt now that will help me get out of.
Southland Colliery employees met with union heads to hear news they'll receive all of $2.5 million they're owed in entitlements.
It looks like the parent company in Germany are going to pay the workers' entitlements.
The CFMEU says German unions helped in pressuring parent company to send Shat Bo. 22 days ago, 130 workers at the Southland Colliery and 120 Queensland counterparts were sacked. Administrators taking over contract company Coalrock. Combined, workers will now receive $4 million.
We've still got a fair bit of a wait till the 21st for the creditors' meeting. That's going to be a long wait for a lot of the blokes who, have got families and kids.
But unions are slamming Centrelink guidelines, which they claim block interim welfare benefits to miners.
They're absolutely crazy. Denied their own money and being refused any interim money from any of the departments.
A spokesperson for Centrelink says miners have the same rights as all people searching for work. Meantime, mine owner Gympie Gold is holding talks with 3 potential new operators. Vanessa Trezise, NBN News.
Newcastle Council officers were breathing a sigh of relief today, thankful that no one was under this 10-tonne, 14-metre tall Kaffir plum tree in Civic Park when it fell early on Saturday morning.
It's had a rot in it that we could not have picked at the time, and very luckily it fell at a time when there was nobody here, it seems.
There were no immediate signs that the tree, planted by the Apex Club in 1959, was about to topple, although the adjacent tree, planted in 61 by Rotary, is also leaning, its roots raised on one side.
And unlike a forest, we can't allow them just to fall down or get old. We have to probably cut their lives at the very moment when they're looking at their best. And that's because we have public risk issues that drive us far more than amenity.
Meantime, this row of trees at Wall's End has been earmarked for removal. Councillors will inspect them tomorrow before giving the final order. Paul Lobb, NBN News.
If the proof is in the pudding, then the Glendale Athletic Centre tasted real success with the weekend Grand Prix meet. But whether that success translates into making the venue a permanent fixture on the National Series remains to be seen.
No city's ever guaranteed a Grand Prix series.
All the noises from officials and athletes, though, have been positive, and their reports go a long way into determining where the series is held each season.
The officials who ran the competition, very happy. They left here with a smile. The athletes, the results that they've come up with have been very positive.
Triple jumper Andrew Murphy actually leapt a world qualifying mark, while Newcastle's Michael Perry bettered his personal best by half a metre in a top night of results for locals. Madawi hurdler Jackie Munro cementing her spot as the country's #1 over the 100-metre journey.
It's known as the therapeutic community model of drug treatment, but the founders of WHO say the motto, "We help ourselves," says it all. A self-help group which also operates 2 facilities in Sydney has just opened its doors to Hunter residents, offering drug addicts a full-time residential setting.
Here you've got to get structure back into someone's life, you know, to get some sort of semblance of routine. Routine is very important.
That routine includes a number of activities on offer throughout the day, including meditation groups and counselling for a period of up to 6 months for each resident. Hunter Area Health has provided the Allendale facility for at least 4 years. The WHO organisation today defending the amount of time it's taken to bring the program to a regional area.
I just think it's lack of resources that have been attributed to illicit drug use, basically, but now there's more money going into it. The reverse problem now is getting staff, qualified staff, to actually come for the jobs.
Helen Kapelos, NBN News.
Nobody wanted to see the Falcons fall out of the NBL, and even when they did 2 seasons ago, there were thoughts one day they'd rise from the ashes. While still very much in its infancy, 3 Newcastle businessmen have a bold plan to see that happens.
They've done a lot of research in trying to get it to this point, but they still have a lot of work to do.
The NBL has shown support, but lists the finances needed to licence and back a new club at $3 million. The plan is to raise that money through public support, a bold yet innovative idea that will make or break the proposal.
Do a bit of market research, find out if there is the possibility of people contributing and what the benefits would be to those people who do contribute.
Most of the planning has been on the legal and economic front, but it's understood filling a competitive playing roster for the 2002-2003 season would be a formality, while former Perth and Australian coach Dr Adrian Hurley would most likely be included in plans as well.
They'll all be targeted by this group to see if there are the interest in the community for a rebirth of the Falcons or a rebirth of a team in the NBL.
But the so-called Operation Phoenix will live or die by the public support. A prospectus should be available by late April.
It looks more like a spaceship, but it's as close as you can get to driving a car without being on the road.
Checking your blind spot, checking your rear vision mirror, making sure that you're wholly within the lane.
Local councils like Maitland near Newcastle are trialling the simulator in the hope of raising the $65,000 needed to buy one.
What the simulator does is it simulates the dangerous situations and what your reaction to those situations are, so you can then understand how critical they are. Because if they happen in real life, the first time you can kill yourself.
And so that they get some familiarisation with driving, such as steering technique, pedal control, looking in their mirrors, making sure their seatbelts on, and road laws before they get their L's.
While young people make up only 13% of the state's drivers, they're involved in almost a third of all accidents. The main thing they lack is experience.
I was so scared when I got on the road for the first time, and to have that, to teach the basic things, would have been good.
The cybercar technology isn't cheap, but its makers point out that neither are young lives.
And apart from missing that gear, you would have passed.
Okay.
Paul Lobb, NBN News.
With Michael Hagan in Sydney for the coaches meeting, 2 Lucky Knights supporters filled his spot in the team's official photo. But the club were no fans of the experimental kicking rule used in trials, which allowed a defender to simply ground a ball kicked in goal to gain his side a tap restart, instead of drop kicking it back to the attacking side.
Joey and Matty Johns over the years have just perfected that sort of game, and we've scored so many tries over it.
Today it went, along with the 2-man tackle stripping rule. It reverts back to the one-on-one law played last season.
Bigger blokes have just taken advantage of the small blokes and just ripping it out of our arms, so a little bloke like me can't take on the bigger fellas.
O'Davis is definite he'll start the year after great pre-season form. However, while Matt Parsons was stripped in his first grade gear today, he's almost conceded that he'll start the year in First Division after missing both pre-season matches.
In 2 weeks' time, it comes time for first grade to pick the 9 in reserve. I'm okay with that. At the moment I've just got to get some footy in and go from there.
The big prop realistic after a slower than expected recovery from groin surgery. However, he only missed the weekend match to be at his wife's side for the birth of their first son, Billy Thomas.
Yeah, I'm a bit tired at the moment. Obviously I had the easy part of the job. Trace had the tough part.
$1 million a year is spent in the Hunter trying to reduce the risk of cancer. And while it seems the sun protection message is getting through with a reduction in the instances of melanoma in young people, there are other preventative measures that aren't receiving the same attention.
Where people are less aware, of course, is the contribution of better nutrition, particularly a vegetable and whole grain cereal-based diet. Better nutrition to cancer prevention, physical activity to cancer prevention, and screening particularly for bowel cancer.
This morning, a new logo was on show, further boosting community awareness and putting the council's Be Cancer Smart message in the limelight.
But feasibly, we reckon by putting together prevention, screening and better treatments, we could probably reduce mortality by 50%. Now, for the disease that is now the biggest cause of premature loss of life, that's a huge difference.
In addition, to make sure the council can continue its work, a new fundraiser will be held next month, a 24-hour team relay.
It's focused on people who've had cancer, who are survivors of cancer, and it honours them and it remembers them, and it's a very moving event.
Brooke Webster, NBN News. Ben Steele says he's ready, physically and mentally fit for Saturday night's challenge. He'll meet South Pacific champion Raphael Tai from New Zealand, who he fought for the Commonwealth title a year ago.
He's going to be a lot stronger this fight than what he was in his last one. I fought him for a Commonwealth title, won on a split decision, and he's going to come out and he's going to be a lot more determined. But yeah, I can see the fight, and I'm pretty comfortable with what's going to happen.
And this time there's even more on the line. Ben is defending the world title he won in Newcastle, and while he won't have hometown support on his side this weekend, national pride should prove powerful.
You wouldn't think so, but you can hear the crowd, you hear what they're saying, and it does motivate you. And if you hear them cheering and pushing you on, it motivates you greatly.
This morning's workout followed months of training which included special preparation for surviving the fight during the northwest summer.
We've had the fans off and a lot of extra clothing, that sort of way, just to get used to, fighting under such extreme conditions.
A crowd of more than 1,500 is expected to witness Ben's attempt to hold on to the title. Brooke Webster, NBN News. Smoke billowed from the Woodford Street property while firefighters fought to contain the blaze, which is believed to have been sparked by an electrical fault. Nearby residents could only stand back and watch as the house was almost completely destroyed. Clark Hancock says he and his wife and some visitors were lucky to escape after they first noticed smoke and then the fire quickly take hold.
We had no time to grab anything. Of course, by the time we evaluated the fire, we just said too late. I just said leave everything.
He says it could have been a very different story.
If we'd have stayed another minute, 2 minutes getting gear out, I feel there would have been someone injured.
So intense was the blaze that one firefighter was taken to hospital with heat exhaustion. Today, police and fire investigators began their inquiries, while Mr. Clark and his family tried to salvage anything the flames missed.
Well, we come away with just what we were standing in. A lot of friends around the place in town. I had brand new gear handed to me yesterday afternoon.
They've been here for 6 years. It's their retirement home. Everything in here is what they've worked all their life for.
While he says there were smoke detectors in the house, there weren't any in the roof, but he's adamant that there will be the next time he builds a home. Brooke Webster, NBN News.
It has all the colour of Sydney's gay and lesbian Mardi Gras, but today the team from the G Hotel in Islington were parading their boat, not their float, for this weekend's Throsby Creek Carnival Regatta.
Far more hours in the costumes than there is in the boat, actually. It's amazing what you do with feather dusters these days.
It's a boat race that takes its name from the nearby creek, but that's the end of the connection. Today they were joined by students from nearby Ties Hill Primary, who had this to say about their fellow boaties.
They're Barbie dolls.
Is that all they are?
Life-size Barbie dolls.
Are you going to beat them?
Maybe. I think they came from the Mardi Gras.
So, when the land-based boat race takes place Sunday, the girls plan to
cheat as much as possible, basically. Yeah, absolutely.
And this is Murky of the Creek, the carnival mascot representing the more serious theme of Throsby Creek Land Care, a mission to reclaim the waterway.
People who live in the area have seen this transform from a dirty, polluted urban stormwater drain into what is now a high amenity recreational asset for the city. And so it's been an amazing thing, but there's still a lot to be done.
All the fun of the fair gets underway from 10 a.m. Sunday at Islington Park. Matt Carden, NBN News.
Having transformed the old Teachers College in Union Street into its junior campus in the late 90s, Newcastle Grammar School has now added How's That to its growing family.
We're very excited about this, and we believe that the school can now offer extra opportunities to our students.
The private school purchased the indoor sports centre for an undisclosed amount in January, describing it as a good marriage, with PE and sports times conveniently not clashing with those of the general public.
How's That will still operate in the same way. It will very much remain a community sports facility.
The school plans to use funds generated by the 17-year-old centre to improve it. Its first major change, the addition of ex-Forum Chief Executive Stuart Allen.
I think it's a new challenge for me. It's a chance to further my professional development and I hope bring some of the skills I have to a new organisation.
The new General Manager is now putting together a plan for the centre's future. Colin Baldwin, NBN News.
It's been a disappointing season for Vasco Trusevski. A handful of senior games playing off the bench was followed with a long stint in the Youth League, and his only run-on start this year in the top grade ended with a send-off. It's understood he approached the club for a release over 2 weeks ago and has since been given the green light to look elsewhere. He's most likely to join a Melbourne State League team. Coach Lee Sterry didn't want to be drawn on the matter today other than wishing him well. He's more concerned with Parramatta Power this weekend, a side that's coming off 5 straight losses.
There'd be a few heads spinning at the moment down in the Parramatta area, and I'm pretty sure that there'll be a lot of people under stressful situations, and that's not good for us, but at the same token, if we can nail a goal early, it might make their heads drop even further.
United, though, is buoyed by its third win of the season at the weekend, with some junior stars stepping up, including Mitchell Johnson and Peter Junknowitz. But just what Sterry will do this week won't be revealed until Wednesday.
Weigh up all the pros and cons, and you also look at the opposition, what sort of players they've got. They're going to be opposite these younger blokes, and you make sure you don't throw them to the wolves.